Good afternoon, I'm Jordan Roth, and this is episode 43 of DALLÄSTHETIC podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting with Melissa Gamez Herrera. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
And Melissa is an artist based in Denton. Still?
Yes, right
Cool.
now. Uh-huh.
And she was, I was fortunate to watch as she won the CADD Fund prize for 2019 for a project that she's been working on for quite some time. And I want to talk today about your work and about the project. And I guess we'll start out, when did you when did you know you were an artist?
Oh, geez. I think I've always known. Really, always. I think the first memory that I have of art and just art making is just in school, in primary school. I wasn't much of a drawer, but I love to color, and so, and I think being an artist is being a little bit rebellious, because I would, do my coloring activity at school, and I'd be so proud of it, and it was great, and I'd bring it home to my mom or my dad and show it to him, and I'd be like, look at this, and they're like, you colored outside of the lines, like, what is that? And then, like, I had that moment, like, I don't care. I don't care that I colored outside of the lines. And so it's not the biggest experience, but I remember having those rebellious thoughts about, the visual, I think, yeah, a long time.
And then you went to art school, and did you immediately veer towards photography?
No. I started in, the classical drawing, and I didn't really start painting, but I did my drawing classes in undergrad. I did, my sculpture, but I don't know, for some reason I couldn't think about imagery in the same way as I did photography. I had a really great mentor who passed away last year. Her name was Lynn Underhill, and the photographs that I produced in her class, she really encouraged me to do more of. I did, like, kind of, I don't know, playful kind of construction things for my photographs, and they were a little bit weird. And but she one time I presented these photographs to her, and she looked at them, and she was like, she kind of did this thing on my head with this roll of paper that she did. She was like, yes.
What were they?
I forget. I think it was like a project about toys,
Okay.
about photographing them with light, just, playful. I think that's what resonated with her, is that my photography was playful. I was thinking about it in that kind of way and enjoying it. And so yeah. That's where I got started.
So, what was the journey to moving into kind of like social justice and the type of work that you're doing now?
Yeah, that's been a long journey. I think just all of my life I've been interested in and grappling with, human rights, with injustices in the world. I mean, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and being Mexican American, I've always known that that my identity was something that caused a lot of tension and turmoil in this country, just in general. I've always known that. In high school, I did some demonstrations, with when bills would be passed or something. I forget the exact bill that was being passed, but it was criminalizing people for seeking, citizenship, being here illegally. And so, I mean, of course, I have family and friends and connections of people that are undocumented or have gone through these things, and I've always felt strongly about that. So it's just been my entire life. And what I will say is that I think me and other people of my generation were heavily impacted by tragedies like 9/11 and things like that. And I was very young when that happened. It was like I was in 5th grade or something, and I remember that, and I remember the war starting and all this surrounding that. And I just remember being very against that and very,
Right.
very against violence. So,
And you find a way to be able to kind of contribute and do something about some of these situations. Can't do much about 9/11, but you encountered issues at the border that
yeah.
you were able to interact with.
Yeah, and again, that's something I've known all my life, crossing the border. I mean, I have that privilege because my citizenship is here, and so I can cross the border and I can go back and forth to see family and things and the place. But there's still that surveillance aspect of the government, of border patrol, of being asked the questions, right? Like, what are you doing here? What are you, how long have you been here? Is this the first time you bring this vehicle here? Like all these probing questions that really, I don't know, they do something to you. To your
Oh, I can
psyche.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have family ties in the place that you've been doing most of your work?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that my family is very much in the borderlands for the most part. But the places where I've gone for this work in particular, I don't have those family ties. They're more it's more a relationship with community workers, right? Like outreach workers, labor law advocacy groups, and but it's like my family is still there, and my family is not involved in that kind of stuff. But I have a relationship with the place, I think.
And what's the name of the city or town that you've been working in?
I go to a number of towns. I go to Ciudad Acuña, which is right across from Del Rio, Texas. I go to Piedras Negras, Mexico. That's right across from Eagle Pass. And then a couple of towns a bit further. So one is called Allende, and the other is called Nava. So those are the places that I've been more specifically.
I know that recently, just a week ago or so, an activist artist from Mexico City was doing work in Juarez, I believe, and was assassinated. Does that make you a little bit more careful, or what are your thoughts on that? I know it's unbelievably horrible.
I think I've been careful even before I learned of this. I haven't been there since that because it's been the past week or so. But I think that's always been, or maybe not always, I take that back. For a while since these tensions and these horrible atrocities that have happened with organized crime in those areas have been a thing in the past, I guess, decade or a few decades. I have been careful. So just in general, even just visiting family, or and there's this consciousness and with me and my family, like when we go there, we're careful and that kind of thing. I think it just in general.
Just in the back of your mind, you just have to always be aware of your surroundings and things like that.
Yeah, it can be kind of a war zone kind of thing going on. I don't live there, but I think it's in the air, and it's been in the air for a while.
So tell me, with regard to your project, the subjects that you deal with, the people that you work with, are dealing with all kinds of sort of threatening and uncomfortable situations. Can you kind of go into the background and what's going on with these women?
The project that I'm doing is, speaking to women maquiladora workers, factory workers, and what they do is they advocate for their rights in the workplace, labor law, and that sort of thing, and do outreach with Comité Fronterizo de Obreros, which is CFO, Committee Border Workers, and that kind of association of what you're mentioning. Very much places them in a mode of risk, and that comes out for me whenever I have conversations with the women, because that's another aspect of the project is talking to them, visiting them in their homes, recording conversations, and there's so much, and it comes up over and over again, this thing where, if I'm involved, I can be blacklisted. I can't find a job. I won't be able to find a job. The threat of violence is not the same as, say, Ciudad Juarez. I think it's more dire there, just in that sense. But it's always there. Like, I was speaking to the coordinator of that organization, about something, and she mentioned, yeah, I've been followed, and I know that I've been followed. After, I don't know, visiting a woman worker, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's always in the back of my mind. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little bit of background.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So in working with the maquiladora workers, you're documenting their home lives, and we've got images that'll come up in a second. But you're trying to kind of capture what's going on when they're not at work.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a huge aspect. It's very important for me for that project because it represents a time when they're not at work.
Yeah.
The opposite of being an efficient factory worker, when in very rigorous kind of bodily work and labor. And I think, and the suffering that comes with that. I'm not interested in images of suffering, although I think that may have its place. I mean, there's a conversation about that, but also getting to the humanity of each woman, that can be representative of women of the area, and yeah, so that's what I'm interested in.
In the images, they're beautiful. You see, you've got portraits of several of the women, and then you see objects around the home. Often it's art, religious icons, family photos. What strikes you about some of the things that you see, and what do you choose to photograph?
Yeah, that's super interesting for me. The kind of iconography that I think human beings hold on to in the religious faith, and just I think what they represent, but also what's happening is a little bit of the opposite. I'm thinking of one image in particular about the Holy Family, right? Mary Mother, the Mary Mother, and Joseph and the child, and this nuclear kind of family, this image, the sacred family, and then just like how opposite that image is of the lives of many of these women. Many of these women are single mothers, kind of doing it on their own, like just pushing forward and doing their best given the circumstance.
Wow.
And I think that those images really speak to me, just kind of like how what we hold on to in faith, and particularly Catholic faith, right? Like there's these idealistic images, and then what's the reality of the situation, and yeah, maybe it says something about ourselves.
It shows kind of a perseverance. I mean, we know that they're, they have struggles with their work and also with trying to attain more rights and freedoms and better treatment. But they're persevering, they're doing the laundry, and they're still attending to their children and trying to keep the faith in the house. And I mean, the images are really telling. And I guess at some point during that project, did you know originally that you were going to make a book, or was that something that evolved?
I've always been interested in books. I don't remember. I may have always wanted to make these images into a book, but I think I was always a little bit apprehensive of it because, it's not, I don't see it as like, a high quality press kind of photo book, I guess, in a
Right.
sense, like this traditional photo book that you see, right? With these glossy pages and things like that. But no, I didn't. It the book for me is this intimate experience
Very.
that I think that it should be, and so that's why I made the book that I did.
Well, so you brought the book to CADD Fund last year, and for those that don't know, CADD Fund is an initiative brought together by CADD, the Contemporary Art Dealers of Dallas, where current students and recent graduates from universities within about 100 miles of Dallas-Fort Worth are able to present kind of a dream project or something that's almost realized. And it's juried by museum curators and other experts in the industry and in the arts. And they present in front of a whole group of people this project. And regardless of who wins, connections are made and whatnot. But the winner in previous years has always walked away with a cash prize that day based on the number of attendees in the audience. And it's the attendees that vote on the prize. So when you presented, you were chosen to receive the prize. And with that, like other projects, you've been able to further produce the book and travel back and forth, and that's just a wonderful thing. And CADD Fund is coming back around this year, and this will happen at the end of March at Texas Theater with the same type of program. Student tickets are available this year, whereas they weren't last year, and that's a great thing. And then something new this year is the winner will actually have an opportunity for an exhibition, which is a really wonderful thing at a space that's forthcoming for CADD. But I want to talk about your project, because your project, I will tell you that tears were brought to my eyes twice last year. Once was when James Talambas, the previous award winner, described his project. And I did a podcast about that several months ago. And then again during your presentation. And very, very moving. I don't know that we're going to do like a complete encore performance, but we do want to go through the book and have you kind of describe or narrate a little bit of it for you. And so that'll start here in just a minute.
Okay, great. And so this book I named after I made it. It's called En sus propias palabras, in her own words, and much of the imagery is from the U.S.-Mexico borderlands. I took these images primarily in Piedras Negras, and for me, I really liked the landscape. I really liked the idea of photographing the area. I think it's important to place the text with the imagery. The text is from recorded conversations that I had with each woman worker. And I have the book here, so I'm going to try to see if I can find where I am and try to translate a little bit. Let's see. And so that one says, I'm really strong, I'm prepared, and I'm very strong. And so why do you think that I'm alone? Because I don't let anybody control my life. And so those words are from the women workers. Another one is in my life. Well, what can I tell you? I'm at a time in my life when my children mean everything to me. And if I'm gone, then what will happen to them? The day that I'm no longer around, I would want them to be as they are now, to be together. So much of this is about family. the importance of family, and images of maquila workers, the interior and the exterior of each home. And before, it was my dream to have a home that was my own. Well, it couldn't happen, right? Well, that's too bad, because the time has already passed. So much of these words are, very intimate and very, very much about the dreams of each worker. And yeah, and so the landscape, the women and their story, or not complete stories, but in such a way that I think contributes to a particular poetic of the place, of the borderlands, and of the people that live there, primarily women.
There's such an element of discovery when you're flipping through the book, because you've got the images, and they're vivid and they're beautiful, and then you've got these just snippets of text that you've taken as kind of like the essence, probably, of that conversation from each scene, and I found that to be really remarkable and moving. So you've at this point made, I guess, 5 of the books.
Yeah, editioned. Yes.
Five editions, and what's the plan for those? Have any been acquired, or?
There was one that was acquired, thankfully, from the Special Collections department in the library of UNT.
Wonderful.
So that was incredible. It's really nice to know that at least one of the copies will be, preserved in some way.
That's terrific.
Yeah, and then the second copy, which I have right now, it was shown in the Oak Cliff Cultural Center for an exhibition called Social Landscapes, and then in another exhibition in Georgia. And so, yeah, I guess my plan is to, I guess kind of put it out there and show it. Yeah.
You had a small exhibition at 500X
Yes.
recently with some of the images. I attended that show. It was
Oh, great.
It was really nice to see.
I'm glad.
So what's next?
Well, with this project, I'm continuing this project. I'm about to graduate from getting my MFA this semester.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're not there yet.
I know, but we're close.
Yeah, we're close. So I'm making an exhibition for my MFA with this kind of work. I have some new work, kind of along the lines of the book. Delving a little bit more into the interviews that I have recorded. Some of the portraits will be in that show. It's going to be April 9th through 11th at UNT.
Terrific.
And so, yeah, so that's the main thing that's coming up right now. And then I'm working on a separate project with a couple other artists, one of whom is from El Paso, Ciudad Juarez. And so kind of, yeah, continuing this risky, I guess, mode of working.
Super important,
Yeah.
and I know that it probably means so much to the people that you're interviewing to have bits of their life preserved and thought of as important as they are. So congratulations for everything that you've done, and for being the reigning 2019 CADD Fund winner.
Yeah, it's great. It was an honor.
And we'll all be looking forward to seeing what's next. Do you have a website or anything?
Yes, my website is mgamezherrera.com.
Okay.
So mgamez herrera.com. I have an Instagram too, so people
Terrific.
can look for me.
So
My
we
name.
can all follow you there.
Yeah, just Google me.
And here's your website there.
Oh yeah.
So just wonderful, and there are images from the project, and I hope everyone will take some time to look at that.
Yeah.
And beyond that, if you're a student or recently graduated from an area fine art program, you owe it to yourself to give CAD Fund a try. You've got another more than a couple of weeks. The deadline has been extended until the 15th of February. And for those in the community that wish to help the students and participants achieve their goals, attend the event. It's at the end of March at Texas Theater. It'll be lots and lots of fun and a really rewarding experience. That's really all I've got for today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jordan. This was awesome.
All right.